Let's talk about why storytelling. And I'll give you 5 reasons why storytelling is so critical. And I'm also going to move towards business storytelling now. First reason, we need to influence and inspire. Whether you're a manager, individual contributor, a senior leader, all of our roles today require us to influence and inspire people. Yes? You don't need to be in sales to be required to influence people, and you don't need to be a senior leader to have to inspire people, right? It's become a part of the role of anybody who deals with people. So we need to influence and we need to inspire. Let me give you an example, a business example, and help you understand how storytelling works. So one of the clients I was coaching in Malaysia, his name is Mark, and he heads in Malaysia. He's the head of one of the largest tech companies in the world, and he's the Malaysia country head for that tech organization. I'm not at liberty to disclose the organization's name. And I was coaching him for an upcoming event where Mark had to speak. And I'm doing a lot of storytelling work with the leadership team of this company. So Mark came to me through that. And I sat down with Mark and I said, okay, what's happening? So it's a big event where Mark is really presenting to chief marketing heads and brand heads of big brands in Malaysia. And I asked Mark, I said, what's your objective? He said, my objective is I want these brands to come on our digital platform for advertising. And I want to convince them. So it's a pitch. I said, okay, how much time do you have? He said, I've got about 20 minutes. I said, all right, great. So one of the first questions I ask people is, what's your key message? And you'll soon understand the importance and the relevance of the key message and why it's more important than the story. If you go back to the flying analogy that I shared, the key message is the landing. The key message is the runway. The story is flying the plane. So you've got to land the story on the key message, right? So I asked Mark, I said, Mark, so what's your key message? And Mark looks at me quite confidently and he goes, well, my key message is 40% of advertising spend is going digital, so must you. I said, okay, that sounds exciting. That sounds compelling. And he was pretty happy. He showed me the slide that said this. 40%. He said, that's my key message. I said, great. But then I had a concern. I said, Mark, if these are all marketing and brand leaders, shouldn't they already know this? And he was a little stumped. He said, yeah, actually, they already know that 40% of advertising spend is digital. I said, so why are we telling them what they already know? He said, no. What we're trying to tell them is that they need to go digital and all. So as I dug deeper, I said, so why aren't they going digital? He said, no, they're actually going digital. I said, if they're going digital, why are we asking them to go digital? He said, no. So it took me a little of digging deeper. And what I did with him is what you need to do with yourself, brainstorming with yourself. And finally, Mark said, the problem is really not that they're not going digital. The problem is they are going digital. They're just not going digital with us. I said, hang on. That changes the entire context. So you're speaking to a bunch of people who are taking their business somewhere else and you want them to bring their business to you. I said, is that the problem? He said, yes. I said, how is telling them the 40% of advertising spend is going digital going to help them with that? And I realized, lesson number 1, as speakers, as leaders, as motivators, as coaches, very often what we choose to say is what we like to say. What we choose to say is what we like to say. Because it emerged with Mark when I asked him, why are you writing the sentence? He said, the sentence sounds powerful. I said, theek hai yaar, it sounds powerful, but is it conveying anything for them? So we have to shift our access from saying what we want to say to what the audience needs to hear. It's always about your people, whether it's your team members, your customers, your stakeholders, whoever it is. And then we went deeper, and as I asked him, I said, Mark, so what's the problem? Why aren't people, going digital with you? What's really happening? So he started explaining, and he said, because they think that our product is complex and complicated, and the competitors is easier to use. That's why they're going there, not coming to us, because our product is complex and complicated. Mark used the word complex and complicated repeatedly with me again and again in explaining why the customer was not with them. That was a cue for me because storytelling is also about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, using a lot of anchor words. So I worked with Mark, and here's the final result of what Mark did. So before and after. Before using storytelling, what Mark would have done, which he thankfully did not, but Mark would have gone on the stage in front of marketing officers who are giving their business somewhere else. He wants to get their business, digital advertising. He would have gone on stage with the first slide and said, good morning, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about the fact that 40% of advertising spend is going digital and so must you. Let me show you how we can help. Imagine what they'd be thinking. यार हम तो पिछले 1.5 साल से कर रहे हैं, हमें अभी बता रहा है तू. We already know this. We're just not going with you. Versus what he did later. after he created his narrative. So now Mark went on stage, and I've got an actual recording of him doing this. This happened about a year and a half, 2 years back, just before COVID hit. So Mark goes on stage and Mark says, "Good morning, everyone. Really excited to be here. When I joined my college about 18 years back, I had to choose a subject that I had to major in. And I decided to choose finance. A lot of my friends told me that time that, why are you picking up such a complex and complicated subject? Insert keyword. But I said, no, finance is what I want to study. But it's only after the first semester, late one night, studying up, cramming up for my finance exam the next morning, that I realized maybe I'd made a mistake, because the subject, finance, was really, really complex and complicated. Repeat the keyword. It was so frustrating at times. It was really frustrating. It was difficult, very, very complicated subject. But cutting a long story short, I passed out of my college with pretty good grades. And the reason I share this with you is because today I run the organization in Malaysia for the last 4 years, and we've been able to demonstrate great financial returns only because of my understanding of what I went through this complex and complicated subject of finance. And marketing leaders, brand leaders, the reason I share this with you today is, through this experience, the lesson that I learned is sometimes things that are complex and complicated are the ones that actually give you results. Now, I know many of you may be thinking that our product is a little complex and complicated, and I understand that. We're trying to work on it to make it better, but it's also the product that gives real results. Let me show you how. Do you see what I mean? It's changing the entire narrative to what you want to convey, right? So I'd love to see a few comments on how you found the story. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. Say yes, no, exciting, good, bad, ugly, whatever you want to put down there in a word or two to describe how you found that. I see a few smileys also. You can use the emoticons or you can use the chat. Okay, Karan liked it. I hope some others too as well. So that's what storytelling helps us do. It gets people ready to receive your point of view. Storytelling helps people get ready to receive your point of view. Yeah. Now let me ask you another question. How many of you, because we need to understand the difference between story and your data, story and your slides, right? People say, I have my slides, should I convert them to a story? What are we doing, right? How many of you have ever gotten your house painted by painters, by professionals, by painters? Ghar pe kabhi painting karai hai during festival time or something? Give me a yes if you've gotten your house painted ever. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you understand how the process works, right? You understand how the process works. Now, you could go to the market and you could buy the most expensive paint, Dulux ka ya kaun sa wo Royal Asian paints ka, you know, velvet touch or whatever you call it, right? You can buy the Berger, right? You can buy the most expensive paint. But before you apply the paint on the wall, what do you need to do to the wall before you put the paint on the wall? Put down in the chat window for me. Let's see who knows this. Let's see who's done the recent renovation. Yeah, priming. Absolutely. You got to rub the sandpaper and you got to put the primer on the wall. Correct? Now, if you don't rub with the sandpaper, don't put the primer on your wall, if you straight away put the paint, what do you think is likely to happen after 6-7 months? What do you think will happen after 6-7 months? If you don't put the primer, what will happen if you just put the paint straight away? Paint will chip off. The paint will not stick. It will start chipping off. It will peel off. But when you prime the wall with a primer, when you treat it, when you sand it, and then you put the paint sticks. Your story is your primer. Your story will make your message stick. Your story is your primer. Your story is what makes your message stick. You can have a very powerful message, but if people aren't ready to receive it, it's not going to stick. Stories get people ready to receive your point of view. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So that's the first reason why storytelling is so powerful. The second reason I want to talk to you about, and while I do that, let me just put my laptop on charge. Second, we need to change the tide and show a new path. Now, storytelling is a great tool to paint a vision. It's a great tool to paint a vision for you as a leader. If you want to change the tide, if you want to change the course, if you want to show a new path, create a vision for people, storytelling is a great tool. In fact, in the full training that I do, where I train people on the 8 patterns of storytelling, one of the patterns is just for that, just for this. And it's called the Just Imagine pattern. It's about creating a vision for the future that you want the person to see. Let me give you another business example. I was doing this work in Bangalore many years back with the marketing and the business development leaders of an app development company. And as I took them through the training, as I took them through the 8 patterns, I explained the Just Imagine pattern. One of the leaders in the workshop, Vikram, he came to me and he said, Gatik, I really like this pattern, and we were doing practice. He said, I've got an upcoming pitch. I want to try using the Just Imagine pattern. I said, okay. So I said, what's your current pitch like? So Vikram was pitching to a travel company 3-4 years back, basically pitching to them that we can build an app for you that can improve your customer experience. So Vikram, before using the storytelling pattern, his pitch was pretty straightforward. His pitch was, we are Acme company, ABC company, this is our vision, this is our mission, this is what we do, this is how we can add value, these are our features, here's a demo. Typical pitch. What Vikram did after using the Just Imagine pattern is that he starts off his pitch something like this. He starts off by saying, good morning. Now imagine he's pitching to his travel company. And he starts off by saying, good morning, everyone. Just imagine. Now, Just Imagine story always starts with the words just imagine. So Vikram goes there and starts off, says, just imagine one of your customers, Peter, has got a flight from Delhi to New York in the next 10 days. Now just imagine today, 10 days before the flight, Peter wakes up to the alarm going off on his iPhone next to his bed. And as he wakes up to turn off the alarm, integrated with the app for the alarm is a small notification from us that pops up. As he switches off his alarm, a small notification pops up reminding him that he needs to pack a black belt, which he forgot the last time, thanks to our artificial intelligence. Now just imagine, 5 days before the flight, Peter's in office running from one meeting to another. And as he finishes one meeting and he's going for the other meeting, he takes out his iPhone to look at the calendar, and integrated with the calendar app is our app, and a message pops up asking him whether he wants the cab to pick him up from office or from his residence on the day of the flight. Now just imagine on the day of the flight, Peter reaches the airport in the cab that's been sent by your company, and the moment he steps out of the car at the airport, he's greeted by a professional looking host from your company who greets him by first name thanks to our facial recognition software, and says, Peter, thank you so much. My name is so-and-so. I'm going to guide you right till boarding. And this host from your company guides Peter through the entire boarding process, and Peter has an amazing, amazing experience. Just imagine if we could make this a reality for all your customers. My name is Vikram. I'm from ABC Company, and I'm here to show you how we can make this possible. You see that? Now that's a Just Imagine pattern in action. You could use this in a sales situation. You could use this in an influence attempt. You could use this to show a vision to your people. It's really about showing 3 or 4 elements of the future that you want to show. Again, a few items in the chat window or a few emoticons telling me how you found this example, the Just Imagine pattern. How do you find it? How do you find the Just Imagine pattern? Emoticons or chat window. Fantastic, somebody says. Amazing, great, yeah. And this is just one of the 8 patterns. The first one I shared with you, Mark's example in Malaysia, that's called a springboard story pattern, right? And this can be applied to so many different business contexts, right? Internal, external, sales, influence, town halls.